Welcome, everybody. It's No Driving Gloves again. They're just off that episode talking about everything ugly in the world. Getting a little bit of few emails and some disagreements on that, but we'll see how it goes. Facebook stuff's live. We tried to get posts up of just about everything we talked about that was a little bit obscure, and maybe even some pretty ones too. And I still haven't decided my most beautiful car. But that was last week. That was then. This is now. And we've got a rare occasion. Derek skipped out on us tonight. He's talking about he never gets time off. Remind him of this. He's getting tonight off. So it's just Will and I. How you doing tonight, Will?
Man, just wide open, John. Wide open.
I don't know how you do it. You always seem to be going 600 miles an hour and don't plan more than 3 days ahead. And
oh, well, it's just kind of the life I live, I mean, I actually did leave work about 5:30 today and went home and cooked dinner with the wife and kiddos and sat down and had a nice dinner and, put your plate in the dishwasher and come right back to work. It's just, a lot of times that's how it is.
And this self-employment's not exactly all it's cracked up to be for having time off. I'm going to say Zara forgets that, hey, I really do have a job, even though I just kind of sit here in my home office and do stuff all day long. But she's got me running 18 different directions, and it's gotten to the point where I always take 2 or 3 hours for the family every night, but it's almost by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I'm back on the iPad or I'm back at my computer and putting together reports or figuring out the next advertisement or what marketing or what to do to grow this little adventure. So we'll see.
Well, if you want to be successful, you're not going to be successful sitting on your butt in front of the TV. And I still don't consider myself very successful. I still think that the Big Oak Garage has still got a long way to go. And hopefully I always think that way. And then some other little adventures I have going too. So, there's always something going on. There's always something to do. And then again, there's always something to do at home, whether it's, taking the garbage out or cleaning the pool or, blowing the grass off the driveway. There's always something to do.
Yeah, it's this interesting thing about self-employment is that I don't know how I got everything done that I got done when I had, 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week distracting me at a day job. Now I'm here and I'm getting a couple more things done around the house on the honey-do list. And I've been telling people I'm busier now that I quit my paying job than when I had a paying job. And, it's all hustle and I'm sitting here and it's hard working when the bank account keeps getting smaller and there's no income on my end. It just don't feel right. But
it's like when people retire, they're like, "How did I ever have time to work?" I know my dad was that way. Which, I'd already had Big Oak rolling, and he retired and basically jumped right into a full-time job at the shop when we were first going, and which now, he's hopefully getting to enjoy retirement some. He's got him a bigger personal shop built up on the hill. And, I try to encourage him to stay up there, piddle with your own stuff, work on your own cars that you've been wanting to build for years. So he seems to be doing that more and more, which I enjoy seeing, that he's actually been able to enjoy his time off and not being too worried about the shop and what's going on around here. And but then again, I call him 2 or 3 times a day. Hey, can you run and get this? Can you run and get that? And can you run to Nashville, or can you take a car to California? So I mean, he still does a lot of that for us, but he does spend a lot of time at his personal shop now too. So which is cool.
Yeah, it's always nice to have something to build your schedule around. I guess I'm definitely much more productive on days that I've either got to go to the ad agency or go to the attorneys or, have an appointment with a client. Appointments at, 11 o'clock. So I want to get all this stuff done before I go. And I find myself maybe doing 15 minutes less Facebook or something that morning, or prioritizing a little bit better. So as I think I get busier, my scheduling will work out. But it's just this, it's kind of overwhelming. This change, though I planned it, has been a little bit bigger than I thought, but things have been going on there. And haven't told you and Derek, but I've even secured a new segment for the podcast. Started for the business, but then all of a sudden it seemed to be better fit our podcast, and we'll fill you in over the next couple of weeks on that. But be looking for, I'm going to say, a slightly longer podcast, but with a new segment I think everybody will enjoy, and hopefully you and Derek jump onto that too, Will, and it'll add a little bit more variety.
There we go.
So, now there's a lot of 10-minute Tony Watley self-motivation business.
There you go.
We probably need to have him back now that two of the three of us are self-employed. Maybe get Derek to swing that way at some point. I think the text messages this week, he's sending some radical cars and talking about how busy he is at the museum. And I really understand his job from knowing people who did his job, my previous job, and he doesn't really get a day off either. It's just, he's working for somebody.
Right. It's a lot. I mean, he's working for somebody, but he's almost self-employed, because he's kind of the guy that makes everything happen. So, when you're kind of the one of the top dogs in the place, ultimately you should have a sense of ownership in the business and want to run it efficiently and the way you would run it if you owned it. So,
he's number 2 or number well, I'd say number 3 or number 4 on the totem pole, but he's the face of, where he works. So
exactly
everything he does is him or the people above him. So his job is to make himself look good, looking, potentially for another job, because that's what we all do anymore in this generation, and to make the people above him look good so that maybe he could advance in, to that next higher up position.
Yep. That's how it works.
So, and that's kind of where you and I, we're trying to squeeze the show in tonight. Derek had to run away for a commitment with his wife's work, I believe, tonight. And one of the first questions I asked you when we got on the mics tonight is, hey, we've been talking about travel in the first week of May to the McPherson Car Club Car Show. It's the 20th anniversary show. Our class kind of restarted that and, did the first two. We were involved in the first two of this new generation of car show. And I remember when we brought it up that the administration wasn't too, or the restoration faculty wasn't too keen. Oh, we've done that before. It's never worked. And I guess whatever we did 20 years ago was right, because they have one of the top shows, it seems now, without going too deep into your pocket. I mean, Monterey's always going to be there. Amelia's there. Retromobile in France, Goodwood festivals. They're huge, huge events. Been going on for, well, Amelia's probably the newest of them. Maybe a Goodwood, 20 years or so. Pebble's been there since the mid-50s. But I think McPherson's kind of known, and, they draw a very good crowd, very distinguished visitors and guests of honors. And, you and I were talking about, hey, do we want to do this trip? And I think I know I'm doing it. You're still making the final decisions. But where it led to is, are there too many shows? Are there too many concours? I mean, it seems there's, if I wanted to, and I had, had my own jet, or had on, if traveling was free, I could be at a concours every weekend and I'd still have to make a decision. And I think the same thing's true about the hot rod world, is it not?
Yeah, you could definitely be somewhere every weekend. Even during the wintertime now, with all of the ISCA events and, major indoor shows, I mean, you could go somewhere every weekend pretty much and attend, a major event. Whether you want to travel that far, that's up to you. But like you said, if travel was free, definitely you could go somewhere every weekend.
I'm just, we brought this up, and I pulled up my sports car market Concours guide for 2019, listing all the shows for the 2019 Concours schedule. And these are the big guys, and these are the guys that are paying a couple $1,000 to be in this magazine. February we have 2, March we have 5, April we have 3, May we have 5, June we have, well, there's 7. That's 7. July we have 8. August, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 16 in August. We've got 9, maybe 10 in September, and October brings us another 7. November brings us 1. December brings us 1. January brings us 1. February brings us 2. Literally every weekend I could be at a car show, and it's, I don't know, it seems to be the in thing. Even with my, personal business, I've been asked to look at helping develop a couple of shows, and one of the goals is possibly a Concours. And it's a tough market out there. And for I'm assuming most of our listeners are aware of what a Concours is. But, the quick, the quick definition, it's just a higher end car show. Every car is usually invited. It's a little bit, it's more than your Saturday night cruise-in. How do you want to say it without being too arrogant? But that's kind of what it is, a lot of people will spend a couple $100,000 to restore a car just to do the show, much like I think in the street rod world to do the Good Guys Nationals or America's Most Beautiful Roadster or the Riddler or any of those. Is that not right? Or
oh yeah. The cool thing about the hot rod side of things is you don't have to build a high-end car to go to a Good Guys event, or even a Detroit Autorama or an indoor car show. You can build basically what you like, whether it's a traditional styled hot rod or a rat rod or it doesn't really matter. So that's one cool thing about the hot rod side of things is you can build whatever you like, and as long as it's 70 or actually 87 and older, you can attend a Good Guys event. So yes, there are people that build very, very high-end cars to go after specific awards like the Riddler, Street Machine of the Year, Street Rod of the Year through Good Guys, or AMBR. But to attend those shows and to participate in those shows, you can just show up with your hot rod and registry. Being the outdoor shows, the indoor shows you have to, apply for, and I've never heard of anybody being denied. It's probably happened, but most of the time you can get your vehicle accepted and get it in the show.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the classic car community is a little bit different. I was looking at the guide here and seeing what I can, what they can say in like the Amelia Island Concours, which happened just a couple days before our recording. There's 323 cars are entered in 2018, all by invitation. Some of these the next one, which is the Palm event in Palm Beach, Florida, 85 cars in that. So sometimes it's not even a huge number of cars. 125 cars, and it's just I think the whole focus of this is: are there too many? Should we slow down? How do you select? For Will, it's easy if he's got a client going there, if there's a business opportunity. For me, it's really that all the exposure, especially now that it's work for me. It's all, I enjoy going to them personally, but 1 or 2 or 3 a year. These are shows that are going to have 300 SLs or Delahayes or Duesenbergs, and they only built a few hundred of each of these, or a few dozen of each of these. So you go to too many of them, you're going to see the same things. I think Derek and I talked a couple of weeks ago that the Keeneland Concours that's coming up in July in Lexington, Kentucky, they threw out, or not threw out, but they've tossed out the idea of and are doing a horse-drawn carriage class just to be a little different, because no other Concours is doing that. It makes them a little bit different. I also like some of the show field setup there. The Keels and Wheels Concours is really cool. It's in Seabrook, Texas. And why are you going to go to Texas for a Concours? Well, they're able to mix, boats and cars, and some of the cooler, bigger Concours throw in a hangar party usually. So you get to go to the private airport. You go to Amelia, it's amazing the number of private jets. You've never seen more private jets. It's more than you see at airports and full-size jets and things. It's all it is Learjet after Learjet after Learjet, or Gulfstream after Gulfstream, whatever. And so now they have the party, they have a big party usually at the hangar in Pebble or Amelia and some of these others, so that you can hang out with, at the airport. And the jet companies are there trying to sell you jets. I always allude, I think it's a statement I heard made by a very wealthy person, and I think I believe that. When I can buy my first jet, then I'll know I've made it. And so I just kind of always pay attention to things like that. Will stuff is, I enjoy going to Will stuff because those are people having fun, and it's, I think he's right. I don't think it gets quite the dollar signs that the classic car side of the hobby gets. Well,
when you attend certain events and you're going for certain awards, yeah, you get that a little bit, but at the end of the day, these are guys or customers that have spent that kind of money building an exact car that they've dreamed about for years. And nothing wrong with restoring, an ultra rare car from the 30s or 40s or 50s or anything like that. But these cars are built for specific individuals, which is one reason why we've had a discussion after discussion about is them not bringing the money that is invested in them, is because they're built for one specific person. And, that person, I know, one of our customers, he loves going to car shows and loves the process and, really loves what other people think about his car too. So, you've seen, one restored 69 Camaro, you've pretty much seen them all. You see a custom 69 Camaro. No, you may not like it. But it is somewhat different and, built to that guy's taste and that shop's taste or whatever. So, you do get a little bit of it, but it's not near what it would be at a Concours or something like that.
And I just always find it interesting because we always make that excuse on hot rods that it's a one of one and it's built for an individual person. And I think we forget, and this might be a good time to have Derek on the show, but he's not here. We have to remember that Duesenbergs and Cadillacs and cars like that, when you bought them, you bought a chassis. It's like going to Art Morrison and buying a chassis, and then you creating a body on top of it. You said last week, the most beautiful car is a 32 or 36 Ford?
3-window, yep.
Yep. And so you go buy an Art Morrison chassis and you take that 36 3-window coupe and you put it on that chassis and you do your, what Big Oak's famous for, tweaking of this and tweaking that and moving this 1 degree and this, a half an inch. And you're modifying it. But the same thing went on in the 20s with Duesenberg. You bought a Murphy body and you put that body on the car, but as the owner, you could individualize that a lot. You could pick the interior you wanted, the fabrics, the colors, and So I think, the excuse that hot rods don't bring as much money because they're one-offs, I don't know if I buy into that. I think hot rods at some point are going to catch on. I think I've seen a couple, we know some of the hot rods that were built back in the 50s are starting to bring big dollars. And, some of these Concours are now having classes for these, 40s and 50s and early 60s era built hot rods. It's just the newer stuff. And, I think it's the ones that have proven timeless. And, I think that's where the care. Nobody knows what's going to be timeless, and nobody knows what's going to be that investment. But Duesenbergs have been an investment since day one. Custom body Cadillacs have been that way, and I can go. I probably can go and really think of a lot of the coach work and the custom bodied cars. I mean, look at the Delahaye's. They're all this swooping, flowing body work that didn't look like anything to their contemporary cars, but they exist. And they've held their value, and they're in the seven figures like everything else. So maybe we're just not to the point that these cars that Boyd built, or Boyd sticks out of my head because he's the big name, but who's some of the other guys?
Well, the Pizza Porsches, I mean those cars, and I feel what you're saying there. Yeah, they're the iconic cars of the hot rod industry. Yeah, they'll eventually come full circle, and they're the ones that are showing up at the Concours events. Yeah, those cars are bringing a lot more than obviously what they cost to build the first time, but sometimes more than what they cost to rebuild and put back to the way they were back in the 50s. But you never know which one it's going to be. Obviously, if it's got some sort of history with, tied in with Hot Rod Magazine back in the 50s, like the McMullen Roadster and cars like that. Yeah, those definitely are the most sought after hot rods right now. Going back to the shows and concours and stuff, I personally think that there could be more higher end. I say higher end. There could be more national type event car shows. There's, Good Guys puts on 18 events a year, or they are in 2019. They vary one or two events a year. Granted, of the 19, there's only about 4 or 5 that, logistically make sense for me to attend. So you throw that out there, there's 5 that I don't attend 5 every year. I'm in the 2 or 3 every year for Good Guys. Shades of the Past, which has really become a national car show since they came up with the Triple Crown of rodding that they do. Those are really, as far as big awards that you can win, those, you got those 5 and then Shades of the Past. And for winning awards, those are your best shows locally to, the southeastern eastern part of the United States. So I think there's actually room for more of those type of shows in our area. But when you start looking at just what we call fun shows to go to, which, don't get me wrong, we don't build cars for awards, but it makes the customer feel good, and that's ultimately how you get recognition on a national level, is winning big awards. So that's the main reason we go after awards. I'm not a trophy hunter, never have been, never will be, but I am a customer hunter, and how you get more customers and grow your business is ultimately win awards, and that brings the customers to your shop because you become more recognizable, and everybody wants a high quality car built. So, but then you got SEMA every year that, yeah, it's all the way across the country, but we attend every year. So, personally, I think there is room for a few more shows. I could go to a show and promote the shop every weekend, but there's some I choose to go to, some I choose not to go to, and some I'll go to one or two times, and then I'll try something else. So that's kind of where I'm at on if there's too many. To me, there could never be too many car shows. I would rather make the decision like, well, that's what I'm having to do with McPherson. I really want to go to McPherson, but Nashville Good Guys is the same weekend. Yeah, it kind of puts me in a spot on making a tough decision. But I would rather see more car shows happening than less car shows happening, just for the sheer fact that means that our industry is growing. There's more people building hot rods and more people wanting to promote shows and put them on. And I've put on car shows before. Actually starting to put on another car show this year, believe it or not. It's a lot of hard work for really not a whole lot of reward. So, and the reason we do it is because we love it. So to all the people out there that are car show promoters and do put on car shows, yeah, there's some out there that make a good living doing it. But then again, most of the people out there putting on car shows, most of them don't even put a dime in their pocket.
I'm kind of a little bit off of, from Will, and then I think there's too many. Like I said, I can do at least one a week if I wanted to, and the traveling, looking at the Southeast, it's tough doing shows in the Southeast because of the heat, weather, population. But, I don't know what I listed off, how many shows total. But the thing is, each one of those shows, on average, is going to have 100 to 200 cars. I'm trying to quickly look here, and, the Morgan's Adam Concours d'Elegance in Inglewood, Colorado. Let's see here, $250 a ticket to get into the thing.
Okay, those guys are making money.
Well, founded in 2003, 100 automobiles, 45 aircraft, and 50 vintage motorcycles. So 195 items on display. A 32 Packard 904 was last year's best to show. But like I said, you've got people clamoring to get to these things. You've got, a lot of, out of, say, the 195 entries for this show, and it's obviously motorcycles, airplanes, and cars, some of these people are paying to be in it. Some people are getting comped because of who they are, what cars they bring. So putting together some of these budgets, it's hard to say if they're making money. Many of these shows are done for charity, and I mean, they bring in millions and millions of dollars for whatever cause they're supporting, whether it be juvenile diabetes, multiple sclerosis, children's hospital. So they help and they benefit. And while I can sit here being my high and mighty self and say there's too many of them, obviously there isn't, because there's people that are participating. These shows all have waiting lists to get in unless they're a first-year show. And then you just invite everybody the first year, and the second year, everybody wants to come to your show. It's, like I said, it goes whatever. So while I say there's too many and it keeps me way too busy, the nice thing is, and we sit here and say that, the car hobby's dying, kids aren't into cars, and the podcast has a couple shows coming up with topics that help address some of what we think in children and cars. There's people going to these things, and they're paying, Disney World admission prices or higher just to go for 6 hours and look at some cars and hobnob with some people, and maybe there isn't too many. like I said, I'm talking with some investors and some sponsors, and we might add another one to the list next year in 2021. These, it's hard to plan something that you're going to charge, $100, $200 to get into and plan it in 6 months, but we all can hope.
Yeah, and the hot rod people, boy, they complain about paying $65 to register a car for good guys. That's a deal. and you get a subscription to a magazine for a year that your car might even be in. I never complain about the entry fee for a car show because I know the work it takes to put those things on, and it's not like good guys is having them out in the field that didn't cost nothing to rent. They're paying big money just to have the shows in certain locations. So, anyway, I don't think good guys charges too much. And it ain't nothing compared to what it sounds like it costs to go to a Concours event.
Well, it depends. Pebble Beach has tickets, I think, that go up into the $2,500, $3,500 range. And I guess I should look that up so I don't misquote them and get sued. Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. And this is the creme de la creme, the show that everybody wants to be at. 200 cars in it. General admission $375, club $825, patrons on the patio $2,500, and the hospitality suites are $3,000 per person.
Wow.
So it's one reason I don't go to Pebble is I can't afford to. But there's a lot of other Concours and there's a lot of other events. So whether it be a Saturday night cruise in, whether it be Pebble Beach, if you're out there, you're able to go, buy your tickets now. The funny thing is they sell out, and all the events that are tied to Pebble Beach sell out. And the reason they're so expensive is to control the crowd, because people want to go. If they charged $100 a ticket to get into the Pebble show, 10 times the people would be there. And right now, even at $375 a ticket, it's hard to move on the field, from what I understand. I've got groups of friends that go every year, and they talk about the number of people, and you really can't see anything or do anything. And the pictures all look great, but the pictures are taken by the media that are there at 5 a.m. with their press passes before the general public gets there.
Yeah, I'm out. I ain't paying $375 to go to any car show. I say that. I probably would certain shows, but
Pebble does certain things. A couple of years ago, they brought every Ferrari GTO ever made to one place, and where else are you ever going to see that? You didn't see that at Ferrari in 1962 and 63. It's the only time it's really ever happened to the general public. You get little things like that. Even the event we had at Barber's, the Barber Vintage Festival, we brought 9 of the 10 Britain motorcycles. These are motorcycles rumored to be worth $1 million a piece, and cutting edge technology, etc. And 9 of the 10. Where are you going to see those together? And the Vintage Festival, on the other hand, was $50 a day to get into, and then plus you had to pay to get into the museum, so it cost you $85 to see these. But it gives you an opportunity to see, or be able to take certain pictures, or say you've been somewhere that's legendary and doesn't happen. I don't know where we went with this show. It's a short one, but it's these shows are important. Whether I look at them anymore, especially this year, from a business standpoint. Last few years when I was with the museum, is who can I meet there, what can I see there, and what do we have that would be beneficial, that would draw attention to the museum and help educate the public. But if you're going just as a spectator to have fun, pick up one of these Concours guides. I think you can get it digitally on Sports Car Market's website for, I don't know, a couple bucks or something. Or just look in your newspaper. And again, whether it's you go to your local grocery store parking lot on a Saturday night, or you choose to go to Good Guys or Hot Rod Power Tour or anything, get out there and enjoy the cars and drag somebody along with you. Drag somebody who's not a car person with you. And what's funny is I'm kind of wrapping up the show here, but it's the old adage, the cars bring the people together. It's the people that keep us coming back. And, once I think non-car people start meeting car people and finding out we're all nice people, all it does is help the hobby and
helps me feed my kids.
And likewise for me. So, do you have more to add to that one, Will, or are we just going to wrap it up there? And honestly, this is probably going to lead into what I was teasing a little bit at the beginning, but.
No, I'm good. Hey, somebody out there listening, there's room for other big hot rod shows with big awards and high stakes, and make it happen. Big Oak will show up, and the other top shops in the country will show up too. If you can make the award prestigious and hard to get, that's what people want. People want the stuff that's hard to get. They want hard competition. They want the best people to show up, and it's hard to win. In saying that, the right car has to win to keep that show rolling the way it needs to roll. And yes, that is a stab directly at the Detroit Autorama and the Riddler Award. So
that's 2 weeks for Will. He rarely stays bitter 2 weeks in a row. Let's wrap up the show there. Let's ask our listeners again. Give us some feedback on social media or send us an email, or we'll post some various shows this week. I'll have Will give me a list of hot rod shows. I'll get Derek to send in some the brass era shows and things like that. I'll throw out some Concours and sports car type events. We'll put them up on the Facebook, try to do the same type thing we did this week, and maybe integrate some of our Instagram. But let us know what shows you're going to. Let us know what shows you think people should go to and why. I have asked a couple of times here, what other than the big ones? I know I need to be at Pebble. I know I need to be at Amelia. I know I need to be at the Concours de the Americas. What shows do I need to be at to market my new business? Or what shows should Will be at to maybe find a new client? Or, what shows should Derek be at to potentially pick up a new car for his, personal stable? Just let us know. Where would you like to see us? Or where do you think the listeners would enjoy going? With that, I'm going to check out. Sorry for the short show, but busy. I'm out of here.
See you guys.